make sure you're crystal fucking clear on what the fuck your values are, because if you don't know what type of man you want, what type of life you want to live, what type of relationship you're trying to create, what is important to you, what you value, how family plays. Like, if you don't know yourself and your values, you don't even, standards and boundaries are impossible to create. The reason why so many people struggle with creating standards and boundaries is because they don't know themselves. You have to know what you are to even create a bubble or create defenses or boundaries or expectations and standards of how to allow the fullest version of yourself to show forth. If you don't know how to do that, then just walk your happy ass off the fucking dating pool. Like, just climb out of the pool, dry up your clothes, put on your street clothes, and head on out. Head on home, okay? Back to your journal, back to the drawing board, back to the core mission. This whole thing about specifically thinking about how to assess if someone likes you or not, you start with level 0, which is, do you know yourself? And then on top of that level 0 is 0 asterisk, your boundaries, your standards. Then we can start with level 1, and there's 3 categories: the guy you don't like, the guy you like, the guy you really like, right? And the guy you really like is probably heavily based off physical attraction, initial reactions, and or like, that puppy love, like y'all have known each other for so long, but it's always been like friends or like family friends, or, distant, like family, like, mingling type of things, like it's kind of like, oof. And I want you, like, what I want you to do right now, listening to my voice, is focus on yourself. Focus on yourself and decide for yourself, what does safety mean to me in a relationship? Now think of a standard that is associated to that. What is a standard that you hold yourself by and everyone else you interact with in regards to your safety? And don't make it a negative, like, oh, I'm not going to be with you if I'm unsafe. Okay, girl, that's a boundary. What's an expectation? How do you measure safety? Now, on the flip and go back to that boundary that you said, I don't want to do unsafe. So what is the boundary? Instead of using negatives, what is the boundary? Blah, blah, blah makes me feel unsafe. Or when this is done, or when this is said, or when I will listen to my body, that is a boundary. Like, for me, my personal boundary is I don't go out with people I don't know or have limited knowledge with out in the middle of the night. Right? Past like 8 p.m. Like, I'm just like, yeah, I'm cool off that. Or going to new places in the middle of the night. Cool. Specifically like parties. There's something about like going to house parties, going to like specifically house parties that just rub me the wrong way. Ever since like college, like, I don't know. Maybe because the few house parties I went to, no bueno, but yeah. So, like, what is a boundary of yours in regards to safety? So then we move up to the level 1. Think of that guy you spoke to, I want you to think of 3 types of guys that can be the example of each of these categories, right? So category 1 is the guy you don't like. So think of the guy you went on a date with or you had a relationship with, and you're like, never would I ever, in regards to safety. So when I think about this, I think about the time when I went to a park and this man tried to lure me to the dark side of the park and try to kiss me, and I said no. I was so proud of myself. I was like, oh, okay. Little mama's got boundaries. Like, flight or flight is very much awoken. Like, I looked him in the eye and I was like, no, I'm not going to kiss you. And yeah, we need to go. So I don't like all this. Me, knowing where I was, like the back of my hand, I wasn't too worried, and it was like pretty light outside and some people were passing by, but I was like, like, you trying to be funny. So that's like, in regards to safety, that's a 0. Like, I don't like you. So every time I think about in regards to safety and I remember the feeling and the thoughts and that situation with that person, that's a 0. That's a not, I don't like you. Let's go to I like you. 1. Think about the situation where you did like the guy, and in regards to safety, you liked him. He made you feel safe. He did XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. Cool. Have that experience, have that mental picture, have that in your forefront. And it could also be the same guy for all of these, but different experiences. People have ranges to themselves, but I will say if they made you feel unsafe once, they can always make you feel unsafe any other time. So you just need to go back to yourself, your inner identity, and your boundaries and standards, and decide, is safety an important feature to me? We're just using safety as an example for this. Now go on to number 2 box. I really, really like him. Right? This is the guy you're like, ooh, baby, like, maybe you did have gone on a couple dates with him and you're like, wow, this is a front runner. Like, this is the guy, like, on your rotation, like, this is the guy. Or like, you don't know him that well. Like, you may not have been on dates with him, but you know him in interactions with other family friends. Like, he's handsome, he's fine. Like, you would give up, a couple pearls or a couple good shoes just to like have him smile at you. Like, this is like very much crush. Like, he is fine, like, oof, over the moon. And he's like protective, right? Protective. This one is sometimes harder for us to be honest about, because many times we don't always feel that way with the people that we're physically attracted to. So if that's just too much of a stretch, think about an interaction where you felt really safe with the person you were talking to, dating, in a relationship with. Like, super duper safe, like safety very much on the forefront. Like, you were frolicking in the fields of lavender without a care in the world, and this man fully encapsulated, and like, you felt safe in his presence with him doing all the things. Like, you were frolicking in the field of daisies, girl. Like, you did not care. That's your level 2. Feel that experience, remember that experience. And if you haven't felt that experience, envision it in your head. Envision like a date where you're like, how would I gauge how I feel super safe? Envision it in your body, like your emotions, sense your emotions on how that will all play out for yourself. But I will say it's hard to attach this as like a really good reflection of your inner identity if you've never experienced it. So now you have these 3 little buckets. I don't like, I like, I really like. And sometimes people will tell you, like, you need to compromise, focus on your main core, and then if you get like the freebies or you get the extras, like, it's just, extra cherries on tops. And I would agree. So you need to be clear that your core is like less than 10 things. And if you want to really challenge yourself, they should be less than 6. Less than 6 core things, core values, core feelings. And for each of them, you should be able to not only self-identify with that. Like if we continue on with the safety one that I've chosen, sometimes we can interchange a word for myself, for me, it might not be for you, for myself, safety and protection is kind of like interchanged, right? So it's not that I'm maybe seeking emotional safety, but I'm also seeking, like, how do you mentally make me feel safe? How do you physically make me feel safe? Can I be spiritually safe with you? Are you protective of the space that you create? So it's you can definitely make a whole story just on one single value. So I don't want you to feel limited in, oh my goodness, how can I get 6 values into here when I have a list of 80 things that are on my to love list? Yeah, to love to shrink down to 6 things and 6 values. 6 things that are valuable to you regardless of relationship or no relationship. Like, they are your core. And some of the best ways to figure out what you value is how you treat your other friendships with women. And if you don't have relationships with women, you better go get you some fast. Relationships with women will teach you self-reflection and self-awareness, and it will teach you to be so freaking delusional. Either one, you're going to come out one way or the other. But if you are already very introspective, very self-aware, reviewing, writing about, thinking and pondering about your relationships with women will literally will give you more insight, on your values, right? It is important to me, safety, to feel safe and protected and comfortable and stable and grounded. Those are all words I would use interchangeably for safe with my friends who are women. It is so important to me that it's like a non-factor in my mind, and it's something that I easily reciprocate, and I make a point to always reciprocate as best as I can. And I'm able to amend because I value safety in general. So I will do something to adapt to make that a possibility for someone that I am engaging with as one of my friends. But also, you can broaden this even out to like how you treat strangers, how you just present yourself. Do you present yourself as someone who can create safety easily? Is safety important to you enough that you can become safe? I think we all as women want safety and protection, but we are not safe or protected people at all. Most women, we're so catty to each other that safety and protection, we can't be honest, we can't be frank without quote unquote hurting someone else's feelings, and then she's crashing out in the corner, and then the gossip goes back to someone else, and then you feeling bad, and it's just what? And then people are on their diatribes about this is why female friendships suck. Female friendships suck because we as women suck at treating each other with kindness, with respect, and creating safety. You either have to take many, many years to do it, and that doesn't even guarantee you safety, or you got to pay for it through a coaching program or a smaller insular online group, or going to a specific school and going to a program or an internship, or going to a specific place where you had to either pay for access. That is for me where I have found to have the most robust and honest and very elevated relationships with women. But all of my all of the friendships I have with women that I will say keep me emotionally humble are the ones where safety is a beyond the standard. It's just a way in which we assume in our bodies whenever we come together and talk, that is like, I'm so safe with this person that I don't think about safety. I don't think about it. I'm so safe with this person that I don't even say, like, when you say something to someone, you're like, I'm kind of nervous before I say this, or you have some prelude before you say something because you're like shy or you're worried about how they're going to react, and they're like, no, it's great, keep going. Like, I am so safe with some of these women that I'm friends with that I don't even have to say the prelude. I just say it. And I make it a point to also change, as I said earlier, change my behavior, change my mindset, change how I show up in friendships to still accommodate and welcome and be safe for other women. It's a value of mine. Safety, protection, grounded, openness. Like, it's all interchangeable, as I said. Safe. Safe is a huge value to me. Feeling safe, being safe. So since that's a value to me, and I know it's a value because it's something that I actively practice, I know that's something that I want to continue in a relationship. In a romantic relationship. So, do you see how we fleshed out just one value of safety? So look at your list of 80 things that you want to love and see which ones kind of connect so that you can summarize it to, your top 50, and then decide for yourself, is this a need or is this a must? Values are beyond non-negotiable. Values are nothing to F around with. Values are nothing to F around with. Values remain even if you're emotionally fickle, you're emotionally unstable, unhinged. Values remain. Another huge value of mine is growth mindset. And if I want to expand upon that, is like not feeling stuck, being solution oriented, being detailed oriented, going through the emotional processing and allowing space and allowing the lessons to come through, and also the revelations, and riding the emotional wave and not attaching or attacking myself at any time. This is something that I hold so close to me that I don't even think about it. The same way I don't think about safety, I don't think about growth mindset. I don't think about it. You can see it in the way in who I talk to. You can see it in the way I speak. You can see it in the way that I interact with others. You can see it in the way that I spend my money. Like, growth mindset, moi. I am addicted to growth mindset, and I'm also so much addicted that I'm able to adapt and change and adhere my behaviors, my speech, to make growth mindset an ever-present reality for myself. That is a value. That is not a standard or a cherry pick or a something that I would like in a partner. No, that is a value of mine. So if I'm interacting with a person romantically that is unable to create that value to be present, we do not need to be talking. That is a zero. We put them in the zero category. We do not like. I'm okay with complaining and bitching and moaning like the next girly. I will eat it up with you. But at the end of all that complaining and gripe, I need you to say at least 2 or 3 solutions. at least 2 or 3 mental affirmations that really like boss you up, like something to give me keen insight that I'm like, okay, I know we had this FaceTime, I know we had this call, but I know you're fine. Like, I know you good, girl. Something to motivate, something to, push someone along. Sometimes some people are just so suffering adjacent. It's not even addicted, adjacent. All you hear is complaining, and then when you try to switch it up, it's like, okay, girl, but what do you want to do about it? I don't know. Okay, what does your body say? I don't know. I'm just so frustrated. I don't know. Okay, girl, like I can't help you. I can't. That does not mean you're not my friend. It also means that I need to also learn more adaptive skills to be in your presence for longer periods of time. Because most of my friends will always say that it's guaranteed that I will ask them, how do you feel? What do you want to do? I will always flip it and reverse it back on you. Because that's something that I do to myself as often as freaking possible, multiple times in an hour. I am mentally, emotionally processing. And I expand and alter my boundaries just as quickly. So if you are not able to do that, then that's just that's just where the friendship is between you and I. And that is the same way, the same rules apply in a romantic sense, if not times 10. Because let's also go past this point of the boxes, right? You have your do not likes, your really like, or your likes, and then you really like. But above the really like and the like, box 1 and 2, is called tags. This is called tags. And we can call it whatever, but I'm going to call it the feminine tags. There's certain things that happen throughout a woman's life that are just so uniquely our own experiences, our own reality. As much as we love to share it with other people and do all these things, it's just going to be uniquely yours. Is simply going to be uniquely yours. And if you don't get yours in order, if you don't logically get shit written down in paper and clear it out and make it known, like what you want with clarity and directness, your tax is going to be much lower than some other random girl's tax who actually put her mind to it and added it. The beauty of the feminine tax at the end of it all, at the end of your values, at the end of like what you don't like. And I mean, you can even sprinkle in before like physical attributions if you want to be a goofy girly like that, right? You can put that in, right? Cool. Feminine tax is just a direct correlation to your emotional, mental, physical, spiritual attunement and actualization. The feminine tax part is you fully creating a reality where all the things that you metaphysically created, all your emotions, your thoughts, the things that you cannot touch, your tangibles, you trust in them, you trust in your ability, you value them so much that you will manifest through to have them as a taxable increase to your value system or to what you're looking for. Or really what's looking for you, if we're being so honest. Okay? This is what separates the girlies who say their life is okay from the girlies who are like, oh, I can't live a better life. Like, my life is everything and more. I'm living my best life every other year, and it's going to get better. Yeah, they have a much higher tax. And your increase of tax the tax rate only increases due to your ability and desire with the decision to do so. If you don't find yourself of worth to increase that tax, it will stay at a fixed interest rate forever. And many women have a fixed interest rate, right? Oh, I'm at a 2%. Oh, I'm at a 10%. Oh, I'm a 6.5 APR. Cool. Fixed. And there's some women who change that bad boy up depending on the day, depending on the week, depending on the guy. That's a riskier game. And they go up and down like the freaking stock market. Up and down and up and down, like their tax wavers and wanes and increases randomly and decreases sudden. Like, it's just crazy. It's good for, causing a little chaos, causing a little, switcheroo on somebody. It's a great way to do it. But it also shows that you are unable to ride the emotional waves of yourself. Because usually your tax declines when your emotions decline, and then it increases when you're on your high. You are following your emotional wave instead of riding the wave. Just because your emotions go up and down does not mean you need to follow them. Your tax should not be based off your emotions. Your tax should be based off of 1, your ego, 2, your shadow self, that selfish inner gold digger that we all have, and 3, your highest self, your goddess, your divinely attached self. Those are the 3 things that make up your tax. Not your emotions, not your logic, not what you should expect out of this lifetime versus another, and what's possible for you in your community, or what your job can allow you to do and do. What your parents said and what your boyfriend told you yesterday versus, and then, or what your husband said to you 3 years ago about what he will and won't do, and what the guy said at a random date you went on that's really stuck with. Ugh. That's not what we change the rate of the tax based off of. We change it based off our ego, our shadow self, our divine self. Those are the 3 reasons why we change it. So if all 3 parts of these selves of you are beyond low, you have low ego, you have low shadow, you don't even understand what a shadow is, and you feel so beyond disconnected to your divine self, your tax, of course, is low. Of course it's low. Because this full package, this pyramid that this inverted pyramid that we just went through, with knowing your identity, setting your expectations and your standards, knowing what you like, dislike, and really like, adding a little, cherry on tops, extras. And then the final top part of it, of this inverted triangle, is this tax. And you're like, oh, I'll give myself a 3% tax. I'll do this today. I don't think I'm worth that much, or I should be humble. I would really like to be with someone, so not everyone's going to be able to talk to me if I make the tax too high. So I don't know. People say that, oh, your standards are in the trash. Your standards are not in your trash. You never, one, either had standards, and two, you don't know how to enact them. The tax is how you enact them. Because you take your standards and you add tax for your future self. Because the same person you are listening to this recording at whatever age you are listening to it right now will not be the same girlie living that actual life you just saw with whoever you decide to live it with whatever life you created together or not. Yeah, you're not going to be the same girlie. But one thing you always say to yourself, damn, I wish I hustled harder. I wish I added tax. I wish I made, some people really work to be in my presence. You know who never says that? Women who actually have higher tax rates. Women who actually have high tax rates, they don't ever wish they had a higher one. They don't ever wish they had higher standards. No one ever says, damn, my standards are so high, while living the life they wanted to live. No one says, after getting married to their quote-unquote dream guy who does this and does that and quote-unquote spoils them and makes them feel like a queen or a goddess or a little princess and blah, 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 blah. Damn, I wish I lowered my tax rate for myself. I wish I, didn't have high standards. No one ever says that. The people who say that are people living lives that they do not like. Those are the people screaming to you through the ether, telling you to have higher standards. To most of my friends, I quote unquote have high standards. To myself, I don't. I just have a really high tax. That's why the standards seem high. Because the tax is high. The standards, pretty basic. Be respectful. Ask me out on a date. Do this, do that, right? Show up. Be reciprocal. Show that you're interested. Show me who you are. Share common goals, right? Basic standards. Basic standards. Stop listening to delusional people telling you your standards are so crazy. No, your standards are not crazy. Majority of women want the same thing. Majority of women want the same thing. So your standard is not crazy. Your taxes. Your tax is what differentiates between who's the delusional people in the bunch and who are the real baddies. When you hear someone say something crazy and everyone's calling her delusional on the internet, she's not delusional. She has a super high tax. Her standards are not out of this world. No, she has a super high tax rate that most people do not feel comfortable paying. And then that's when people start attacking your worth. Oh, you're not worth that. How can someone else tell you what you are worth? Only you can tell you what you're worth. Your tax rate is what defines and manifests into reality your worth. So if you say you're a 10, if you say you're a baddie, if you say that you're amazing, blah, 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 God, cook and clean, right? What is your tax rate? How do you add that to how you show up with your standards? Not only your standards, but also your boundaries. Because the tax rate also applies to your boundaries too. Some people have weak boundaries and people are like, oh, they don't have boundaries. No, their boundaries are just really low because their tax rate is disgusting. Blame everything on the feminine tax. Because what creates the feminine task? Your ego, your shadow, your divine. And if you are low, in need of, very not well in tuned, your tax rate will reflect that as a very low number, and you will have all the people talking to you, a plethora, no matter what your standards are. The standards and the boundaries is what decides if a relationship or a talking stage transitions to a relationship or into morphs into another type of relationship, like whatever. That is what your standards and boundaries dictate. Your tax rate dictates who sees you and who doesn't. That's what your tax rate does. Because to show up in your tax rate, it's how you show up, it's how you speak, it's how you dress, your hair, your makeup, your look. It's the whole shebang. You are presenting as your tax rate. And what has pushed you or propelled you to show up in this, 360 baddie or this top tier person or this highly educated business woman or whatever way, whatever aesthetic you've associated with yourself at your top high level of like trying to be your best version forward, your best foot forward. It's due to your ego, because the ego does not play with being played small. So if you have a normal sense of ego or really an inflated one, which is a different issue for a different day, your ego won't allow you to show up like trash. Your shadow self, the part of you that you hide away, the bad girl, the good girl on bad energy, the one that really is a contrast to the things that you were told that you were really good at or you should be celebrated for. Oh, you're so kind. Oh, you're so quiet. Oh, you're so empathetic. Yeah, the shadow self, the reverse of that, you still have it and you're just hiding it. And or things that you were told growing up that you were reprimanded for being bad or not ladylike or not good enough for girls to be doing. Yeah, that's all shadow. So your shadow self is also dictating how you show up. And then your divine self. The one that reminds you that if I'm a child of God, then what are we stressed out about? That alone is an affirmation. If I am a child of God, then what am I stressed out about? If your divinity or if your inner divinity is not outshining some of your darkest woes just by thinking about it, just by interacting with your own divinity, yeah, it's going to be hard to show up as that girl, quote unquote, confidence, sleek, clean, whatever the aesthetic is applied, like just that girl. It's hard to show up like that girl when all these three parts of you are not even like, they're on freaking life support. If your ego is on life support, it's not going to work out. If your shadow self is not fully integrated to yourself and you don't know what you don't know about yourself, it's not going to work out. If your divine self is not just like divinity alone, the tax should be at least 3 times whatever the standard is. Divinity alone. What? Like, do you not understand that you literally connect people in this world? Like, you connect your conduit, your connection for God. It blows my mind how many women don't actually know that and or like believe that for themselves, so it's hard for them to show up and behave. I keep talking about this tax, and something that just popped into my mind about it was the tax is how you behave. It's your behavior. That is the tax. You and I can have the same standards. We will show up differently. That is the tax. We can verbalize the same thing, but the behavior. We can say the same words, but the tone, the behavior, the attitude, the person talking, what the essence is behind it, that is the tax. That is the feminine tax. And your feminine tax is unique to you as mine is to myself. You cannot copy and paste someone else's feminine tax onto your own. You need to go also find your feminine tax within yourself by looking at your ego, by looking at your shadow self, by looking at your divine self. That is your feminine tax. Many of my friends and I, we have the same standards for relationships, for romantic relationships, excuse me. Same standards, same values, many of us. That's why we're still friends, right? Because those values interchange in whatever and however you show up in the world. So of course your friends, if you're good friends, you usually share the same values. But the way that we behave on dates, in relationships, in partnerships, just in interactions with possible romantic partners, potential romantic partners, or actual romantic partners, different, because we each have our own tax. There's shit that my friends accept, even though we have the same standards and boundaries. There's shit that they say or behave that I would never fucking do, and vice versa. There's shit that I tell them, they're like, WTF was that? Because they have a different set of tax. Same standards, same boundaries, different tax. So I know earlier I told you all about the woman who, some women have a fixed rate. Some people change their rate depending on their emotional selves, or depending on the day, or even worse, depending on the guy. Trash within itself. The third type of woman is the one who progressively always ascends, the taxes increasing regardless if she's in a relationship, if she's not in a relationship, if she's married, if she's not married, if she has children, if she doesn't have children, like whatever her situation is, the tax is on a forever incline. It's always, like when you go to universities and you look at the financial aid, or you really go to the financial aid page, some universities, my university did this, some universities tell you underneath their tuition and fees, they have like sometimes a footnote. I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, what? They said, blah, blah, blah university, we update the tuition and fees. We increase the tuition and the fees every year by 3%. The board of trustees increases the tuition and fees every year by 3%. And they said to accommodate for inflation and blah, 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 whatever, right? That's their rate, 3%. So while all these newscasters and all the media and we're all crying about universities are so expensive, tuition is so exorbitant, do you think these universities care? Do you think they care? No, they don't care, because they literally write it down as a footnote just to play in your face that every year that you're going to spend at their institution, the tuition and fees will be increasing by 3%. You can expect that. We don't know what else you can expect out of this university, but what you for sure can expect is that these tuition and fees will increase by 3% each year. Yeah, that's their tax. So that's the third type of woman. No matter what the situation is, no matter what economic dysfunction, relationship turmoil, mental crash outs, and just low line of living to full on like living a blissful life beyond abundance, blessings are showering upon you. Peace is your middle name. You are interacting and seeing everyone that you want to see. You're light on your feet. You feel the full essence of life running through your veins. Regardless of all of the states in between, desperado and so secure that you feel in a given year, regardless, your tax will increase. Regardless. So definitely comment down below. Not just your thoughts, but also like adding to the conversation with what else you thought about when you were listening in. What are the streams of consciousness that you also like had about this? I'll see you next time. Bye.